talk about some functional fills, not a trick name. Each fill serves a specific function within the music. So as we go through these, you're welcome to use the fill that I'm playing exactly. You can adapt it for your own style, or you can change the fill entirely. But the most important thing is to understand the concept of it and why we're playing the fill. As drummers, we're often in the role of guiding everybody through the music, and understanding why we're playing fills is actually the most important thing, not the fill itself. So let's talk about some functional fills. Before we get into the actual fills, I want to talk about the three main reasons why we actually play fills. There's probably others, but today we're going to talk about three main reasons. The first one is transition. Songs have an arc, right? You've got the intro, first verse, goes up a little bit into the chorus, comes back down, a second chorus, maybe a bridge, a solo section, a last verse, a last chorus, and then a ride out. And so as the drummer, we are kind of guiding everybody, sometimes literally subconsciously, through all the sections of this. We're kind of marking the form, letting people know what's happening. We're lifting it up when it needs to be lifted up. We're bringing it back when it needs to be brought back. That is the transition. The second way that we use fills is to play a setup. So say you're playing in a jazz band. 1, 2, 3, 4. That little fill, that aligns the band so that everybody knows what it is they're going to do. Now the same thing happens in rock and roll as well. You might have 1, 2, go, 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 1, 2, go, 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 ba, ga, ga, right? You've got a big 3, 4, 1. You might go, 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 3, 4, 1. And that's what you got going on to set it up in a rock setting. So that's the setup. And the last way we use fills is to create some sort of a musical event. If you're on the ride out of the song and things are grooving along and you need to really raise the bar, you can play a fill that just pushes everything higher and just brings it up to a new level even from where it was. The other way is you can play some sort of fill that creates a dramatic event, often like a rhythmic type thing. So you'll use that to create some tension and have things pull forward. So often the drums are transitional, but sometimes you have to do something that's really in the mix, and it's more of an event than a transition. So that is an event. The first fill is known as a build-up fill. Its most common use is to go from, say, a verse into a chorus, or from a chorus into a solo section. So I'll play the fill, and then we'll talk about it. So as you can hear, it just followed the name. I literally built it up. I just played a crescendo on the floor tom and the snare drum up until I had to crash on beat 1. 8th notes all the way through. No rocket science going on there. Couple things about it though. Number one, I played quarter notes on the bass drum all the way through. And I did not play the first 8th note on the snare drum or the floor tom. So I allowed the bass drum to play there. And what that does is that it starts the dynamic range as low as possible so that we can raise it as high as we can. So the fill ends up starting. It really helps create a nice dramatic effect as you're sort of going through that crescendo. The other thing I did is I splashed the hi-hat on beat 4. And I play the snare drum and the hi-hat. You can also do it on the crash cymbal if you want to. And what happens is, as those cymbals are decaying, the fill is rising up through the decay of those cymbals. It just creates a really nice smooth transition between those two things. Same thing, the build-up, one more time. This next one I call bringing it down. Say you come out of that solo section or you come out of that first chorus and you need to bring the dynamic level back down. So this is going to be opposite of doing that build-up fill. So I'll play the fill and then we'll talk about it. When I'm bringing that stuff back in, I really like to play the hi-hat as a little chute because I can close it up, and that tightens everything back up and really it sort of sucks everything back in again. So I'll do it one more time. Sometimes I play the bass drum with it, sometimes I don't. I often, it just depends. Sometimes I'll play the bass drum, sometimes I won't. I'll do one of each. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. This next fill is something that I call the groove fill. So sometimes you're playing and you don't really want to stop playing the groove and get like onto the drums and do like a whole bunch of stuff. There's a variety of reasons why that might happen, but sometimes it's best just to keep going. So what I'll do is I'll take the beat that I'm playing and I'll just play a different groove, often based off some kind of a paradiddle pattern, just to keep the groove happening, make some sort of transitional musical thing to kind of happen so people know that we're going to a different part of the song or that there could be some sort of shift that's occurring, but I'm not getting off the groove in order to make that happen. So I'll play an example, you'll hear it, and then we'll go from there. So as you can clearly hear, I just played a groove fill. My main groove was, and the fill I played was, I love doing that kind of stuff. It's kind of my favorite thing because and you can really kind of go for it in those situations. And I wouldn't say, I don't like to use the term get away with a lot, but if you're still playing a whole bunch of eighth notes and things are kind of moving around, you sort of have a lot of latitude of the way that you can mess around with that. So I'll show you what I mean one more time. Groove fills, some of my favorite stuff.